Hey fellas, Meat Trapper here. Another in the QA series, and one question that I get a lot is something along the lines of, hey Meat Trapper, I'm retired now, and I was thinking about getting into trapping. Seems like a great way to get out in the woods and get some exercise. What all do I need to buy? What's it going to cost me to get started in trapping? I get this question a lot, very similar questions such as, I'm young, I don't have a lot of money, I'd like to give trapping a try. What do you think it's going to cost me to get started, and what do I need to buy? What's important, what's critical, and what's a waste of money? So I have probably wasted more money than you can imagine when it comes to trapping. When I started out, I had nobody to teach me, I had nobody to tell me, and so I had to basically learn by trial and error, and the internet was still in its infancy, and there just wasn't a whole lot of information out there. So I've come up with a couple of rules that I think will help anybody that wants to get started in trapping, regardless of what species you're going after or where you're at. And rule number one that I would give you is pick one species and focus on that. I don't care if it's mink, coon, beaver, coyote, fox, doesn't matter, otter, you name it. The main thing is to pick one animal and to target that one animal and learn to catch that one animal. The mistake that I made starting out was I would see something about coon trapping and I would say, yeah, that sounds great, I've got a lot of coons around here. So I'd go out and I'd buy some Duke 1.5 footholds. Then I would take a look and I would see, oh, look at these dog-proof traps. That's pretty neat, let me get a couple of those. And I didn't have much money, so I'd just buy a few of them. And then I'd see something about snaring coons, and I would say, I need to try that. That looks pretty cool. And so then I'd get into buying some snares and making snares. And before you know it, I have a whole mishmash of different traps and different connectors and different sets and different methods. And when I would get out to make a set, it would take forever because I'd have to dig through all of this crap to find the right equipment to make the set that I wanted to. And if I had just stuck with one type of trap, just footholds for coon, or just conibears for coon, or just snares for coon, and gotten one system down, I would have been way ahead. It would have been less money, less junk, less clutter, and more efficient at the set, and I would have been able to focus on catching the animal instead of making the set. And that's a huge thing to understand. When you're just starting out, you want to learn to trap. You don't want to learn to put out traps, and there's a difference in that. Also, by focusing on one species, you're not going to multiply what I just described across multiple species. In other words, you're not going to have beaver snares and footholds for coon and dog-proof traps and then a little bit bigger trap for coyotes. That gets unmanageable real quick, and what happens is if you do that, you get very frustrated and it becomes a tremendous amount of work, and at the end of the day you don't have out that many sets and you really didn't focus on anything, and it just becomes unmanageable. So rule number one is pick a species, stick with the species, focus on one method and learn to use that method based on what the laws in your state are. Rule number two is set a budget to get started. Now, you can get started for $250. That's going very thin, but you can do it. A better budget, honestly, is $500. And really it doesn't matter what species you're going after, because you're going to have to buy traps or snares. You're going to have to buy certain equipment. If you're doing land trapping, you're going to have to buy dirt hole makers or shovels or sifters or what have you. If you're doing water trapping, you're going to need some waders. You're going to need tie wire. You're going to need extension cables in addition to the traps. And you're going to need lures. If you're land trapping, you're going to need baits. So there are a number of things that you're going to have to buy other than just the traps. So keep that in mind. That being said, what's a reasonable number of traps to go out and buy? At the lower end of your budget, $250 budget, I would look at 6 traps. Now, a lot of people are going to sort of chuckle at that because they're going to see all these guys on YouTube that, that are professional trappers that are running 500 traps or 600 traps. Don't do that. Don't make that mistake of thinking about numbers. I would rather a beginner take 6 traps and learn how to use them and learn how to trap the animal in question than to try and buy 3 dozen traps and then not take their time. So if you are running a $250 budget, look at 6 traps. If you're running a $500 budget, look at a dozen. Rule number 3, buy quality traps. When you're just starting out, fooling with cheap traps or cheap equipment is going to be very frustrating, and it will end up sort of turning you off on it. Whereas if you use good quality equipment, you're going to eliminate that trouble. You're going to have trouble enough just catching animals when you first start out. You don't want to have to fight your gear. So once again, if I had my choice of 12 cheaper traps or 6 better quality traps, I would definitely go with 6 better quality traps. You're going to have a better experience, you're going to have more fun, and you're going to get more into the game rather than getting turned off of the game. An experienced trapper may use cheaper traps. I know a lot of guys that run Duke traps exclusively, but they're experienced, they know how to use the Dukes, they know they're going to lose X number of traps throughout the year to theft. They've been through it, they've got it all figured out, and that's what works for them. But it's just starting out. Here in Alabama, when we run our trappers education workshops, we really push the MB550s to young trappers. They're great traps, they last forever, easy to set, and they work right out of the box. So you're not going to get misses because you didn't have your trap tuned properly. So buy good quality gear. So those are some suggestions if you're looking to get started into trapping. I'm not going to give advice on footholds versus snares versus conibears for the beginner, because a lot of that's going to be determined upon your state laws. Just remember that conibears are dangerous if you're just getting started. And if you're a younger guy or if you're trapping alone, you'll probably be better off using footholds or snares if you can use those. So anyway, that's my advice. Number 1, pick a single species and stick with it. Learn to trap the animal, not to make sets. Number 2, pick a budget. Number 3, buy quality equipment. And number 4, and the most important, have fun. It's hard work, but if you're not having fun, you're not going to stick with it. So I'd rather somebody run 3 traps and go out and check them and have fun doing it than have 3 dozen traps and have it turn into misery for them. So anyway, I hope this has been of use, and hopefully this rain will stop and the water level will go down and I can get back out on the line. Till then, thanks for watching.